Hello, dear listeners. Do you often visit Walmart? I think these stories might make you go there a little less often. Enjoy listening.
Okay, so this was about 2 years ago. I was working overnight stock at the Walmart in Brookhaven, just outside of Tulsa. I needed the money, my girlfriend was pregnant, so I took the shift, 10 at night to 7 in the morning. You get used to the quiet, the weird vibe of a place that big being so empty. It's just you, the guys on your team, and the sound of box cutters and pallet jacks. This one night, it was a Tuesday, I think, really slow. My supervisor, Gary, sent the other two guys home early because we were ahead of schedule. He told me to finish breaking down the last pallet in grocery, aisle 7, the soup and canned vegetables. He said he was going to the back to do the paperwork, and then he'd let me out. The automatic doors are disabled after 11, see? You need a manager key to get in or out. So I'm doing my thing. It's maybe 3 in the morning. The store is dead silent, just the hum of the freezers. I'm putting the last cans of green beans on the shelf when I hear a kid crying. Not a loud wail, this soft, hiccuping cry, like they're trying to be quiet but can't help it. I figured maybe an employee's kid was in the break room or something, but no one brings their kid to an overnight shift. I walked to the end of the aisle and looked down towards toys. Nothing. The cry came again, from the other direction, towards home goods. I called out, "Hello?" My voice echoed. No answer, just the crying, which stopped for a second, then started again. It sounded closer now, like by the registers. I started walking that way, feeling stupid. Maybe it was a prank. One of the guys left a phone playing a sound or something. I got to the front lanes, nothing. The crying was clearer now. It was coming from the bathroom, the family restroom, the single one with the lock. The door was shut. I knocked. "Hey, you okay in there?" The crying stopped instantly. Total silence. I waited, heard a small shuffling sound, then a tiny, whispery voice, a little boy's voice. He said, "He won't let me leave." My blood went cold. I tried the handle, locked. "Who won't let you leave? Is someone in there with you?" I said it loud, firm, like I had authority. I didn't. The little voice whispered, "The man in the mirror." A relief washed over me. Okay, a kid with an active imagination. Got locked in, got scared of his own reflection. It happens. I said, "It's just you, buddy, your reflection. Can you unlock the door? Just turn the little lock." "He's looking at me," the whisper came. It was trembling. "He's not me." I was getting annoyed now, mixed with a little creeped out. I decided to go get Gary, have him unlock the door with the master key. "Stay right there, kid. I'm getting my boss. We'll get you out." As I turned to walk away, the voice changed. It wasn't a whisper anymore. It was flat, empty, an adult man's voice, but coming from behind that door. It said, "Don't bring Gary." I froze. My skin prickled all over. How did this kid know my boss's name? I hadn't said it. I ran. I sprinted past the registers, through the clothing section to the back hallway that led to the management offices. The door to Gary's office was open. The light was on. His radio was on his desk, buzzing with static, but he wasn't there. I called his name. Nothing. I checked the break room. Empty. The back receiving bay was locked down, the rolling metal door shut. I was alone. The store felt huge suddenly, a cavern of shadows past the reach of the nightlights. My own breathing sounded too loud. I had to go back to the front. I had to get that kid out, or confront whatever was talking to me. I grabbed a heavy-duty flashlight from a charging station. It was metal, solid, felt better than nothing. I walked back, my sneakers squeaking on the linoleum. The store was silent again. No crying. When I got to the family restroom, the door was wide open. The light inside was off. I shone my flashlight in. Empty. No kid. No man. Just a normal, slightly dirty Walmart bathroom. The mirror over the sink was fine. I felt like an idiot. Had I imagined it? The stress of the job? The lack of sleep? Then I saw the writing. On the wall beside the toilet, in small, shaky letters, written in what looked like black marker, it said,
Gary is in the baler. The baler. The big industrial compactor we use for cardboard. You throw boxes in, it crushes them into a bale, you tie it off with wires. It has a safety guard. It's not supposed to be able to operate with the door up. But accidents happen. Rare, but they happen. I ran to the back, to the baler bay. The machine was off. The green light on the control panel was dark. The heavy metal door was down and locked. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. It was a sick joke. Someone was messing with me. I turned to leave, and my foot kicked something. A single, worn-out work boot. Gary's boot. He had a pair with a red stripe on the heel. I recognized it. It was lying on its side near the baler's hydraulic piston. My hands were shaking. I looked at the control panel again. There was a manual override keyhole for maintenance. A key was in it. Gary had the only key. I don't know why I did it. Dread was a solid weight in my stomach. I walked to the baler's ejection door, where you slide the finished bale out. It's a smaller hatch, secured with a thick lever. I undid the lever. It was stiff. I pulled the hatch open. It was dark inside. I pointed my flashlight into the compacted cube of cardboard. Standard bale. Brown. Pressed tight. Sticking out from the side of the bale. Crushed flat and woven into the cardboard like a piece of debris, was a hand. A man's hand, wearing a wedding band I'd seen on Gary's finger 100 times. The fingers were curled, pale, and perfectly, horribly smooth from the pressure. I stumbled back. I fell. I scrambled away from the machine on my hands and knees. I think I screamed. I don't remember. I just remember getting to my feet and running to the fire exit door in the back. It had an alarm. I didn't care. I slammed into the bar. Silence. No alarm. The door swung open into the night. It wasn't supposed to do that. I burst out into the employee smoking area. The parking lot was empty. My car was the only one there. Gary's truck was gone. I called the police from my car, locked the doors. They came. I showed them. They asked me 1,000 questions. They found Gary. They said it was a tragic accident, that he must have been trying to clear a jam, used the override, and fell in. They said the writing in the bathroom was probably unrelated, some kid's vandalism from earlier. They said I was in shock, hearing things. I quit the next day. My girlfriend thought I was crazy. Maybe I was. The twist came about a month later. I was at a gas station in the next town over, getting a soda. I saw a missing poster on the bulletin board. A little boy, 6 years old, last seen at the Brookfield Walmart with his mother. He'd wandered off towards the bathrooms. The date on the poster was the day before my shift, the night I heard the crying. The picture. He had bright red hair, a gap in his front teeth. When the police had processed the bathroom, they'd taken photos. I asked one of the detectives, a guy who was kind to me, about it later. Just casual. I described the writing. He said, yeah, they documented it. He said it was weird because they'd found the marker. It was under the sink, a black, dry erase marker, the kind used on the whiteboards in the management office. And then he said, offhand, the weirdest part was the fingerprint dust. We dusted the mirror, standard procedure, got a bunch of smudges, but right in the center, at about the height of a small child, we got a perfect, clear print. A small handprint. I felt sick. The boys? I asked. The detective shook his head. No, we cross-referenced it with the boy's prints from his home. Didn't match. Wasn't the mother's either. Wasn't Gary's. Wasn't yours. He took a sip of his coffee. He said it was an adult male's print. But the size, It was a child's size. A perfect, tiny, little adult handprint on the mirror. He never found a match for it.
So this one isn't about me working there. I was just a customer. This happened in Arizona, just off the I-10, one of those massive supercenters in the middle of nowhere, the kind with the desert right up against the back of the parking lot. It was July, blistering hot, even past 9 at night. My car had started making a whining noise halfway from Phoenix to Tucson. I pulled off, saw the Walmart, figured I'd grab some coolant and see if I could spot a leak. I was in the auto aisle, holding a jug of Prestone, when I saw her. A little girl. Couldn't have been more than 4. She was alone, wearing just a pink swimsuit cover-up and no shoes, crying but quietly, the hopeless kind of cry where they're too tired to scream. She was walking down the middle of the main aisle, looking at the faces of everyone who passed her, and nobody stopped. I mean, one lady glanced down and kept walking. A guy in a hurry just stepped around her. I put the coolant down and went over. I crouched down, kept my distance. "Hey, sweetheart, you lost? Where's your mom?" She just looked at me, her face all puffy. She pointed a shaky finger back towards the front of the store. "Mommy's sleeping in the car." Alarm bells. It's 100 degrees out. "Okay, let's go find her, okay? Can you show me?" She took my hand. Her little hand was sticky. We walked out the automatic doors into that wall of heat. The parking lot was maybe half full. "Which car, honey?" She pointed towards the far end of the lot where the light from the street lamps didn't quite reach, the edge that bled into the desert scrub. "The white one." We started walking. Rows of cars. I'm scanning for a white sedan, an SUV. My phone was in my pocket. I was already thinking I'd call 911 as soon as I confirmed a passed-out mom in a hot car. That's a crime. That's an emergency. We got to the last row before the asphalt turned to gravel and then dirt. Parked under a broken light was an old, boxy white van. Not a car, a van. The windows in the back were tinted black. The side door was open a crack. The little girl stopped pulling me and let go of my hand. "That's my mommy's car." Everything in me went tense. This was wrong. All of it was wrong. "Is your mommy in the van?" I asked, keeping my voice calm. She nodded. Then she did something that froze my blood. She put a single finger to her lips. "Shh, she's still sleeping." From inside the van, through the crack in the door, I heard a cell phone ring, a generic, tinny ringtone. It rang twice, then stopped. A second later, a man's voice, low and muffled, said, "Yeah, we got her, at the Walmart, 5 minutes." The little girl looked from the van to me, and her face changed. The tears were gone, the sadness was gone. It was blank, empty. She spoke, but her voice wasn't a little girl's whisper anymore. It was clear, monotone. "You shouldn't have come with me." The side door of the van slid open with a bang. I didn't wait. I turned and I ran. I didn't look back for her. I just ran. I weaved between parked cars, my heart hammering against my ribs. I heard the van's engine roar to life behind me, tires squealing on the hot asphalt. I cut between 2 big trucks, sprinted for the store entrance. The automatic doors opened and I fell inside, gasping. I yelled for security. A bored-looking older guy in a cheap uniform ambled over. I was babbling. A kid, a van, a man on the phone. He just sighed. "Another one? Sir, calm down. We get runaways from the reservation out here all the time. Kids play pranks." "She wasn't a runaway. She was a toddler, and there was a man in a van." I was shouting. People were staring. The security guard radioed someone. "We'll check the cameras for the parking lot, all right? You want to file a report? You can wait for the sheriff. He's about 20 minutes out." I waited. I sat on a bench near the subway, shaking. The security guard came back half an hour later with a printout from a black and white CCTV still. It showed the edge of the parking lot, the white van. The timestamp matched when I was there. "That your van?" he asked. "Yes, that's it." He pointed at the image. "See the door? It's closed. And look here."
He pointed to a spot near the van. In the grainy image, it was just me, standing alone, crouching slightly like I was talking to someone. Then the image showed me turning and running, alone. At no point in the 3 minutes of footage was there a little girl in a pink cover-up. It was just me, by myself, talking to empty air, then panicking and running. My mouth went dry. She was there. I held her hand. I walked with her.
The guard gave me a look of pure pity. "Sir, it's the heat. Does tricks on your mind, especially out here. You saw a mirage, got confused. The van was probably just some guys camping in the desert waiting for a buddy. Happens all the time." The sheriff came. He said the same thing. No missing kids reported. No white van matching that description in any alerts. He suggested I get some water and get back on the road. He said the desert makes people see things. I was starting to doubt myself. Maybe it was the heat, the stress of my car trouble, a waking dream. I felt insane. I bought my coolant, filled my car, and drove away. I drove straight to Tucson, didn't stop. I checked into a motel. I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing her blank face, hearing that flat voice, "You shouldn't have come with me." I turned on the local news at 11, just for background noise. The anchor was finishing a story about a water conservation bill. Then she moved to the next item. And a tragic update in the search for missing Phoenix mother, Elena Reyes. The body of Miss Reyes was discovered earlier today in a remote area of the Tonto National Forest. Police say she had been deceased for several days. Miss Reyes's 4-year-old daughter, Sophia, remains missing. She was last seen with her mother at a gas station in North Phoenix. Police are treating the case as a homicide and abduction. They urge anyone with information. A photo flashed on the screen. A beautiful, smiling woman. Then a picture of a little girl with curly dark hair, wearing a bright pink swimsuit cover-up, at the beach, smiling with a gap in her teeth. It was her, the same girl. The news report didn't mention Walmart. It didn't mention a white van. It said the mother's car had been found abandoned near that gas station, over 100 miles away. But I knew. They used the Walmart. They used that little girl, or something that looked like her, as bait, to grab someone else. A trap. And I had walked right up to it. If that door had opened a second sooner, if I'd been a step slower. I called the tip line. I told them everything. The detective I spoke to was quiet the whole time. When I finished, he didn't call me crazy. He just asked very specific questions about the man's voice I heard, about the van's make, which I couldn't really give. Then he said, "Mr. Evans, we appreciate the call. We'll add this to our file." He paused. "In the future, if you're ever in a situation like that again, where a lost child leads you to a vehicle, do not approach. Call us immediately from a safe distance." I asked him why. Was it a known method? He was silent for a long time. "Let's just say you're not the first person to report an encounter like this at a Walmart parking lot in several states. The description of the child varies, but the van is always white, and the child is always reported as not quite right, just before the door opens." He thanked me and hung up. "My car works fine now, but I don't stop at Walmarts after dark anymore. Any of them. Not even for coolant." This one's hard to talk about. It was last fall, in a small town in central Ohio, Fairfield. My dad had just moved into an assisted living place there, and I was driving up on weekends to help him get settled. He needed a new shower chair, one of those plastic ones with the arms. The local medical supply store was closed on Sunday, so I went to the Walmart. It was a normal Sunday afternoon. Crowded, families, old people, the usual. I found the shower chair in the pharmacy section, and as I was heading to the checkout, I saw a group of people gathered in the aisle with the greeting cards, maybe 8 or 9 of them.
They weren't shopping. They were just standing in a loose circle, not talking. All different ages. A young guy in a college sweatshirt, an older woman with a grocery cart, a middle-aged man in a flannel. They were just standing there, staring at the floor. I thought maybe there was a spill or a dropped something. I slowed down, glanced into the circle. There was nothing on the floor, just linoleum. As I passed, the older woman with the cart looked up, right at me. She didn't smile. Her eyes were red, like she'd been crying. She held my gaze for a second too long, then looked back down to the floor. It gave me a weird chill. I kept walking. I checked out, loaded the chair into my SUV, and was about to leave when I realized I'd forgotten the one thing I actually needed for myself: razors. I muttered, turned off the car, and went back in. I grabbed the razors fast and went to the self-checkout this time. As I was scanning, I saw the group again. They were over by the main entrance now, near the big bins of discounted candy. Same people, still just standing. They'd moved as a group. Now they were blocking the main exit doors, but not in an aggressive way, just loitering. People were walking around them, giving them strange looks. I paid and headed for the door, trying not to look at them. As I passed, the young guy in the college sweatshirt stepped forward just a half step into my path. He was pale. He looked terrified. He spoke in a rushed, low whisper. "Don't go to the parking lot. Not yet." Then he stepped back into the group, looking down again. My heart started pounding. Was this a threat? A robbery tactic? I looked at the others. None of them acknowledged what he'd just done. They were statues. I didn't know what to do. I stood there, holding my bag, frozen. I pretended to look at my phone. I watched the group. For 10 minutes, they didn't move. They just waited. More people left the store. The flow of customers slowed. Then, all at once, as if on a silent signal, they moved. They broke their circle and walked, not together, but in the same direction, towards the garden center exit on the far side of the store. The older woman pushed her cart. The young guy walked fast, hands in his pockets. They all filtered out that door, into the fenced-in garden area. The main entrance was clear. I could leave. But that kid's warning, "Don't go to the parking lot." My car was in the parking lot. My dad was waiting for me. I made a decision. I followed them. Not closely. I hung back, used end caps for cover. I watched them go through the garden center gates, which were open, and into the sprawling employee and delivery parking area behind the store. It was a maze of semi-truck trailers, dumpsters, and storage pods. The group didn't stop. They walked straight back, past all the store infrastructure, to the very edge of the property. A chain-link fence separated the Walmart lot from a thick line of woods. There was a section of the fence that was bent back, creating a small gap. One by one, they slipped through the gap and disappeared into the trees. I stood by a trailer, feeling completely out of my depth. This wasn't my business. This was some weird local thing, a cult meeting or a LARP group or something. I should just go back to my car. That's when I heard the crying from the woods. A man, sobbing uncontrollably, deep, gut-wrenching sobs of pure grief. It was horrible to hear. Then it cut off abruptly. Silence. A few minutes later, the group filed back out of the woods, single file through the gap in the fence. They walked back towards the garden center, but they were different. Their posture was straighter. The red-eyed woman wasn't crying anymore. She looked calm, empty. The terrified young guy, he looked relaxed. He was almost smiling. They all had the same blank, peaceful expression. They walked past me, not noticing me behind the trailer, and went back into the Walmart. I waited until they were gone, then I ran to my car in the main lot. I locked the doors and just sat there, breathing hard. I called my dad, told him I was running late. I didn't tell him why. I had to know. It was stupid, but I had to know what was in those woods. I drove around the perimeter of the Walmart property. There was a side road that ran along the tree line.
I found a spot where I could pull over. I got out and pushed into the trees. It wasn't deep. Maybe 50 feet in, I found a small clearing. It was empty, just leaves and mud. But in the center of the clearing, the ground was disturbed. The leaves were swept away in a perfect circle, and in the middle of the circle, set into the dirt, was a single brand new item. It was a shower chair, an exact match of the one I had just bought, still in its plastic wrapping. The box was clean, untouched by weather. It was just sitting there, facing the tree line, like it was waiting for someone to sit down. I delivered the chair to my dad. I didn't say a word. That night, I scoured local news sites, missing person pages for Fairfield County. Nothing jumped out, just normal small-town stuff. The twist came 2 weeks later. I was back in Fairfield, visiting Dad. We went out for breakfast at a diner. His neighbor from the assisted living place, an old guy named Jerry, joined us. Jerry was a talker. He was going on about the town gossip. Then he said, "You hear about that poor kid from the community college? Vanished a couple Sundays back. Last seen at the Walmart. His parents are devastated." I put my coffee down. "What kid?" "Nice boy. Worked at the library. They found his car in the Walmart lot. Keys in it. Phone on the seat. Not a sign of him. Police think maybe he wandered off into the woods. Had a mental break or something." Jerry shook his head. "They searched those woods behind the store for days. Found nothing. Not a shoe, not a scrap. It's like he vanished into thin air." I felt cold. "What was he wearing when he was last seen?" Jerry thought for a second. "Oh, his mom said he loved this old college sweatshirt. From Kent State, I think. Wore it all the time." A college sweatshirt. A terrified young man whispering a warning. "And the weirdest part," said Jerry, leaning in, "the parents said the only thing missing from his apartment besides him was this new shower chair he'd bought for his grandmother. He was supposed to take it to her that day, never showed up. The chair was gone from his place. The receipt was in his car from the Walmart." I never told anyone what I saw. Not the police, not my dad. What would I say? I saw a group of people who seemed sad, then they went into the woods and came out happy, and later I found a shower chair? But I think I know what happens in that clearing. I think you bring something you've bought, something new, something you intended for someone else, and you give it up. You leave it there, and in return, something is taken from you. A grief, a fear, a memory. Or maybe you become the thing that's taken, and someone else gets to walk out of the woods feeling light and empty. I don't shop at that Walmart anymore, and I never, ever go to the garden center. I worked the Christmas season. You know, one of those temporary hires they bring on from October to January to deal with the rush. I was assigned to the back room, mostly breaking down boxes, running the baler, and taking the full bales out to the compactor in the loading dock area. It was a Walmart in Cedar Mills up in Washington State, rainy, always gray. The back room is its own world, no windows, just concrete, steel racks full of overstock, and the constant thump of the baler. My supervisor was a guy named Marcus, big, tired, always smelling of coffee. He showed me the ropes. The most important rule, he said, was about the compactor, the big industrial trash compactor in the fenced-off area outside the loading dock. "You see anything unusual in the trash," he said, not looking at me. "You don't touch it, you don't ask about it, you just put the bale in the compactor cage, hit the button, and walk away. Let maintenance deal with the rest." I figured he meant needles or dead rats or something. I nodded. "What kind of unusual?" He just looked at me. "You'll know." The job was mindless. Smash boxes, make bales, take them out. The compactor area was a concrete pad surrounded by a tall chain-link fence with a padlock. The compactor itself was a huge metal box with a hydraulic ram. You opened a heavy steel cage on the side, slid your bale in, closed it, then hit a green button on the wall. The ram would slam forward, crunching everything inside into a wet, dense cube that got hauled away once a week by a waste company. The first few weeks were fine. Then in early December, I started finding the dolls. Not whole dolls, pieces. An arm made of that soft vinyl in a torn open bag of shredded office paper. A leg sticking out from some packing peanuts. A head with matted blonde hair and one eye missing, staring up from a carton of food waste. They were always clean, like they'd been washed before being thrown away, and they were never in the regular trash bins inside the store, only in the loose trash that got dumped directly into the compactor cage. It was creepy, but I thought maybe it was from the toy department, damaged goods, though they didn't have damage stickers, and the way they were separated, an arm here, a head there, it felt intentional. I mentioned it to Marcus one day over lunch in the break room. Hey, you ever find doll parts in the compactor trash? He stopped chewing. He put his sandwich down. I told you the rule. You see something, you ignore it. I'm just asking. It's weird, right? He leaned across the table. His voice was low. Listen, before you got here, there was a guy on the shift. Javier. Good worker. He started asking questions, too, about the dolls. He started collecting the pieces. He said he was going to put one back together, see what it was. Marcus looked toward the break room door. He didn't come in for his shift one night. We found his time card punched out in the clock. His locker was empty. He never picked up his last check. Nobody's heard from him. He quit? People don't quit 2 weeks before Christmas and leave their money on the table, said Marcus. He picked up his sandwich again. Just do your job. Don't ask questions. That shut me up, but it made me more curious and more careful. I started paying closer attention to the compactor area. The trash came out on big rolling carts from various departments. The people who brought it never made eye contact. They dumped their cart and hurry away.
One night, a week before Christmas, it was pouring rain. I was the only one on the back dock because Marcus was doing inventory. I had a bale to dump. I wheeled it out, unlocked the fence, and dragged the heavy bale to the compactor cage. As I opened the cage door, my flashlight beam swept over the fresh pile of trash that had just been dumped. There was a doll, but this one was whole. It was sitting upright on a mound of black trash bags, a baby doll with a plastic body and a soft vinyl head. It had curly brown hair and wide blue eyes that opened and closed. It was wearing a little red velvet dress. It looked brand new, expensive, and it was looking right at me. My skin crawled. This wasn't a piece. This was a complete doll, placed carefully on top of the trash. Not thrown, placed. I remembered Javier. I remembered the rule. I should have just shoved the bale in, closed the cage, and hit the button. Crush it with the rest. But I didn't. I looked at that doll, sitting in the rain, and a stupid, childish thought entered my head. What if it's not a doll? I pushed the thought away. I was being an idiot. I lifted the heavy cardboard bale and started maneuvering it into the cage. It was awkward. As I shoved it in, the bale tipped and bumped the doll. The doll fell over onto its back. Its eyes clicked open. I jumped back. It was a tilt mechanism. Normal. Totally normal. I was breathing hard, the rain soaking my hoodie. I had to finish this. I reached into the cage to straighten the bale so the door would close. My hand brushed against the doll's cold vinyl arm, and its head turned. Not much, just a slow, deliberate quarter turn on its neck, to look at me again. I froze. I wasn't imagining it. The head had been facing the sky. Now it was facing me. The eyes were open. I scrambled backward, out of the compactor cage. I slammed the heavy door shut and fumbled for the latch. I locked it. I ran to the green button on the wall and smashed my palm against it. The hydraulics kicked in with a deafening hiss. The ram slammed forward into the cage with a sound of crushing, grinding metal and plastic. I watched, my back against the wet fence. I saw the cardboard bale flatten. I saw the black bags burst. I saw the flash of red velvet for just an instant before it was pulverized and driven into the back of the chamber. The ram retracted. Silence, except for the rain. It was done. I was shaking. I got out of there, locked the fence, went back inside. I didn't tell Marcus.
The next night was my last shift before Christmas Eve. I was on edge all night. Every shadow in the back room felt wrong. Finally, my shift ended. I was relieved. I was getting out. I'd work New Year's, then I was done. I clocked out, headed for the employee exit in the back. The exit led through a short, poorly lit corridor past the compactor control room, a tiny closet with the electrical panel for the machine. The door to the control room was usually shut. Tonight, it was open a crack. A faint, greenish light spilled out. I should have kept walking, but I heard a sound, a soft, rhythmic clicking, like a mechanism trying to engage. I pushed the door open. The control room was just a concrete box with an electrical panel. On the floor, in the center of the room, was the doll. It was filthy now, covered in sticky grime and shreds of rotten food. Its red velvet dress was torn and black with compactor fluid. One of its arms was bent backwards. Its hair was matted with something wet. But it was sitting up, and its head slowly turned towards me as the door opened. Its blue eyes clicked open and shut as if blinking slowly. Sitting in a neat semicircle around the doll were 6 doll arms and 3 doll legs, the parts I'd been finding for weeks, arranged like offerings. On the wall behind it, written in what looked like grease or mud, was a single word: Javier. I didn't scream. I couldn't make a sound. I just turned and ran. I blasted through the employee door into the parking lot to my car. I drove home and packed a bag. I called the store the next morning and quit over the phone. I told them a family emergency. I left town and stayed with my sister for the rest of the holidays. I never went back for my last paycheck. The twist? I tried to forget it. I almost did. Then, this past October, I got a Facebook message from an account I didn't know. Just one line. It said, "They're hiring seasonal help again at Cedar Mills. Marcus asked about you." There was a link. It went to the Walmart job application page. I blocked the account, but a week later, a package arrived at my old apartment, which I'd moved out of. My former roommate held it for me. He said it had no return address. It was a small box. Inside, packed in clean white tissue paper, was a brand new red velvet dress. A doll's dress. Child-sized. My roommate texted me a photo of it, asking if he wanted me to throw it away. I told him to burn it. I didn't explain. I still get the job alert emails from that Walmart. I never signed up for them. They just started coming. The subject line is always the same: your application status. I never applied. This is the most recent one. It happened to me, and I still can't sleep right because of it. It wasn't late at night. It was a Tuesday morning, 10 a.m., at a Walmart supercenter in Indiana. I was just doing my normal grocery shopping. My wife, Sarah, had sent me a list. I had my earbuds in, listening to a podcast, just grabbing milk, bread, chicken, the usual. I was in the cereal aisle when I first noticed him. A man, standing at the far end of the aisle near the oatmeal. He was just looking at the boxes, normal enough, but he was wearing a long tan trench coat, which was weird because it was like 75 degrees and sunny outside, no rain. He had his hands in his pockets. I didn't think much of it. I got my Cheerios and moved on. I saw him again in the dairy section. I was getting my gallon of 2%. He was over by the butter, still just standing, hands in the pockets of that coat. He wasn't looking at the butter. He was looking down the chilled aisle towards me. Our eyes met for a second. He had this completely expressionless face, like a mannequin. He didn't look away. I did. A little prickle went up my neck. Coincidence, I thought. He's just a slow shopper.
I went to the meat department. I'm comparing prices on chicken breasts. I feel someone stop their cart behind me. I glance back. It's him, the trench coat. His cart is empty, not a single item in it. He's just standing there, maybe 10 feet away, staring at the pork chops. Now I'm officially creeped out. I abandon the chicken. I head for the baking aisle, taking a long route past the pizzas. I keep looking over my shoulder. I don't see him. I start to feel stupid. I'm a grown man. Maybe the guy is just off, socially awkward. I try to shake it off. I get my stuff, flour, sugar, the last things on the list. I head for the checkout lanes. I pick a lane with a cashier, not self-checkout. I want a witness between me and the parking lot. I'm unloading my cart. Bread, milk, cereal, chicken, everything. The cashier is scanning. I'm watching the main aisle behind me. He walks past, not looking at me, just walking slowly, pushing his empty cart towards the exit. He goes out the automatic doors. I let out a breath. Okay, he's leaving. I'm being paranoid. I pay, get my receipt, push my full cart out into the bright morning sun of the parking lot. It's crowded. I feel better immediately. I'm walking towards my car, which is way out in the back because I like the exercise. Halfway there, I hear a cart rolling behind me, the sound of wheels on asphalt. I don't turn. I speed up a little. The sound speeds up. I slow down. It slows down. My heart is starting to thump. I'm still a good 50 yards from my car. I make a sharp left, cutting between 2 rows of cars. I glance back. It's him. Trench coat, empty cart. He's just walking, pushing the empty cart about 30 yards back. His face is still blank. He's not gaining, but he's not falling behind. This is it. This is happening. I'm being followed in a crowded Walmart parking lot at 10 in the morning.
I break into a jog, my cart rattling over the asphalt. I don't look back again. I get to my Honda, fumble with the keys, unlock it. I throw the bags into the passenger seat, slam the cart into the corral, and jump in. I lock the doors. I'm breathing hard. I look around. I don't see him. No trench coat, no cart. I start the car. I pull out. I'm driving down the lane towards the exit, checking every row. Nothing. I feel a wave of relief so strong it makes me dizzy. I was imagining it. I was tired. Stress from work. I stop at the red light at the intersection by the store entrance. I'm waiting to turn left onto the main road. That's when I see it in my rearview mirror. A tan trench coat in the back seat of my car. He's lying flat on the back seat floor, but I can see the top of his head and the shoulder of that coat. He must have slipped in when I was loading the bags, when my back was turned for 3 seconds. Pure ice floods my veins. I can't breathe. I can't scream. The light is still red. His head moves. He starts to sit up. I don't think. I slam the gear shift into park, throw open my door, and run. I just leave my car running in the middle of the turning lane. I sprint back across the parking lot towards the Walmart. I'm screaming for help. A woman pushing a cart stares at me. I run inside, straight to the customer service counter. I'm gasping, pointing outside. A man in my car. He's in my back seat. Call the police. The manager calls 911. 2 stalkers, big guys, go out with me. We approach my car, which is still sitting there, door open, engine running. The back seat is empty. No one. My groceries are still in the passenger seat. The police come. They take my statement. They search the area. They find no one matching the description. They ask if I have enemies, if I'm under stress. They run my plates, my license. Everything's clean. One officer gently suggests I might have had a panic attack, that maybe I saw a coat on the floor of my back seat that I'd forgotten about. But I knew. I felt him there.
I saw him move.
They let me go. I'm too scared to drive my car. I call Sarah. She comes to get me. We leave my car there overnight. The next day, we go back together to get it. It seems fine. Empty. We drive it home. For a week, I'm a wreck. I check my back seat a dozen times before getting in. I park in well-lit areas only. I start to think maybe the police were right. A stress-induced hallucination. I'd been working too much. Then, 7 days after it happened, I was vacuuming the car. I was doing the floors, pulling out the mats. When I pulled up the passenger side rear floor mat, I found it. A single, long, black hair. Not Sarah's. She's a blonde. This was coarse and black, and it was stuck to a small, dried spot on the carpet underneath the mat. A spot that was dark brown, the color of old blood. I didn't tell Sarah. I took a photo. I went to the police station, showed the photo to the officer who took my report. He looked at it, then at me. He sighed. "Sir, a hair and a stain? That could be anything. Coffee, soda, mud. It could have been there for years." "It wasn't," I said. "I cleaned my car, and that hair isn't mine or my wife's." He could see I was serious. He leaned forward. "Look, off the record, we got a report 2 months ago from a woman. Similar story, in the same Walmart parking lot. She said a man in a long coat got into her back seat while she was loading kids into car seats. She saw him in the mirror. She drove to the police station instead of going home. When she got there, the back seat was empty. We found nothing." "What happened to her?" I asked. "She moved," the officer said simply. "A week after filing the report, she packed up her family and moved out of state. No forwarding address." He closed his notebook. "My advice? Sell the car, shop somewhere else." I did. I sold the Honda to a dealership across town. I take my groceries at a local chain now. I'm okay during the day. The twist is what happens at night. I've started sleepwalking. Sarah found me once, standing in our dark garage at 3 a.m., just staring at the wall. Another time, she woke up and I wasn't in bed. She found me in the living room, in the dark, sitting perfectly still in my armchair. She said my eyes were open, but I wasn't there. I don't remember any of it. And last night, I woke up on my own. I was in the hallway. My hand was on the doorknob to our basement, a door we always keep locked. I was trying to turn it. In my other hand, I was holding my car keys, the keys to the Honda I sold 3 months ago. I looked down at my feet. I wasn't wearing my slippers. I was wearing someone else's shoes, big leather boots, still cold and damp with dew from outside.
If you liked the story, subscribe and like it, and also write a comment about what topic you would like to hear about.